You see, you're supposed to say to me, you represent everything I hate.
Well, that's not true.
I'm supposed to say to you, you represent everything I don't understand. But so far, I understand everything you've said, and so far, you say you trust me.
I don't put down a whole group of people because of some of them, you know.
Well, in addition to the age I represent a bourgeois family man. I represent an institution like the New York Philharmonic, which I am the head of. I represent establishment, if you wish, in a way. I hate that word, and I don't like to think of myself that way, but that's something that you would naturally rebel against.
Yes.
But I don't find you rebelling against me. I would like
What would you want me to do?
I want you to hit me. I want you to tell me.
This is David Oppenheim for CBS News. What this broadcast is about is the gap, the aching gap between the two generations. We of the Middle Ages trying to understand, the young ones trying to explain. Tonight, these young ones are pop musicians on tour, singing their own songs, a tidal wave, come about and just explaining.
The kids today aren't just going to accept what's laid down for them by the older generation.
We want to have the adults around. We just don't want them to constantly tell us what to do.
Pop singers get through to millions of people, and I really mean millions.
What kind of people, though? You don't get through to adults.
They get through to the kids that are going to become adults.
A lot of the kids that are walking around the street with long hair, a lot of the kids that you see from time to time and retch over are going to be running your government for you.
Music is the key to all this, and so the first part of this broadcast is a look at the songs themselves, both the notes and the words. For this phase, here's Leonard Bernstein.
For a long time now, I've been fascinated by this strange and compelling scene called pop music. I say strange because it's unlike any scene I can think of in the history of all music. It's completely of, by, and for the kids. And by kids, I mean anyone from 8 years old to 25. They write the songs, they sing them, own them, record them. They also buy the records, create the market. They set the fashions in the music, in dress, in dance, in hairstyle, lingo, social attitudes. And I say compelling because it shows no sign of abatement. The fads change, the groups change, but the songs keep coming, increasingly odd, defiant, and free. This music raises lots of questions, but right now, for openers, here are the two that concern me most. One, why do adults resent it so? And two, why do I like it?
CBS News presents In Color, Inside Pop, The Rock Revolution. Brought to you by
General Telephone and Electronics, GT&E, and its family of companies.
I came to these songs naturally through my children, but I have a sneaky feeling I would have heard and responded to them anyway. After all, they are part of music, which is my world, and a part that is so pervasive as to be almost inescapable. Many parents do try to escape this music and even forbid it on the grounds that it is noisy, unintelligible, or morally corruptive. I have neither escaped nor forbidden it, neither as a musician nor as a father. I think this music has something terribly important to tell us adults, and we would be wise not to behave like ostriches about it. Besides, as I said, I like it. Of course, what I like is maybe 5% of the whole output, which pours over this country like the two oceans from both coasts, and it's mostly trash. But that good 5% is so exciting and vital, and, may I say, significant, that it claims the attention of every thinking person. Okay, let's get down to some specific songs, to the music itself. Here is a cheery bit by the Beatles. Now, that's not just cheery, it's also very unorthodox. For one thing, it suddenly, if you noticed, leaves out a beat, so that an ordinary 4-beat measure becomes a 3-beat measure. Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. You see just one sudden bar of 3 among all those 4s. We never used to find that in pop music. It's new. And then just as suddenly, there was that arbitrary change of key. Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. Sort of tart, pungent. Then there was that odd little canon at the end, a sort of round. Good day, sunshine, sunshine. What a way to fade out in a new key, a shifting meter, a sudden new counterpoint. But that's the Beatles, always unpredictable and a bit more inventive than most. You know a remarkable song of theirs called She Said, She Said? Well, in that song, which goes nicely along in 4, there's again a sneaky switch to 3/4 time, only this time it's not just for 1 bar, but for a whole passage. She said, you don't understand what I said. I said, no, 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 you're wrong. When I was a boy, everything was right. Did you get it? If not, listen again to the Beatles this time. She said, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3, 4. And we're back again safely in the old 4-beat. Now, the point I want to make is that such oddities as this are not just tricks or show-off devices. In terms of pop music's basic English, so to speak, they are real inventions. And it's not only the Beatles who make these inventions. For instance, there's a group known as the Left Bank that has a tune called Pretty Ballerina. Now, this tune is built not in the usual major or minor scale, but in a combination of the Lydian and Mixolydian modes. Imagine that. Comes out with a sort of Turkish or Greek sound. I had a date with a pretty ballerina, her hair so brilliant that it hurt my eyes. Rather unusual, wouldn't you say? And even so commonplace a number as the Monkees' recent hit, I'm a Believer, has one noteworthy musical twist. It's going along in the standard gospel shouting tradition. Then I saw her face, now I'm a believer. And now suddenly here's the cadence. I'm a believer, I couldn't leave her if I tried. What a place to end on. Totally unexpected chord. Now, I know you may say, well, what's so great about that chord? It's ordinary. We've had much more sophisticated and adventurous harmonies in pop music of the 30s. What about Gershwin? What about Duke Ellington, Sophisticated Lady, with those rich chromatic parallel 7th chords? Yes, but that's the whole point. This pop generation has rejected that old chromatic sound as too sophisticated. The sound of an older, slicker generation. The old-fashioned sound of the cocktail lounge. This new music is much more primitive in its harmonic language. It relies more on the simple triads. The basic harmony of folk music. Never forget that this music employs a highly limited musical vocabulary, limited harmonically, rhythmically, and melodically. But within that restricted language, all these new adventures are simply extraordinary. Only think of the sheer originality of a Beatles tune, like this one, which, again, uses only the elementary resources of pop music. I was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there. Well, that could almost be by Schumann. It's so expansive and romantic. And notice how the range of the melody has been expanded. Most pop tunes have in the past been restricted to the range of an octave or so, owing to the limitations of pop singers' vocal ranges. But not so anymore. Our pop generation reaches and spreads itself, grasping at the unattainable. And this is one of the things I like most about it. The straining tenderness of those high, untrained young voices. That's Bob Dylan. And here's a group called The Association. And as always, the Beatles.
She loves you, and you know you should be glad. She loves you.
Now, of course, whereas I may call that a straining after falsetto dreams of glory, you may call it nothing but a breakdown in gender, that same androgynous phenomenon of the pop scene that produces boys with long hair and ruffled shirts. And you may be right, but back to the music. What else do I like about it? I like the eclecticism of it, its freedom to absorb any and all musical styles and elements, like old blues.
My baby does the hanky-panky.
Or a high Bach trumpet. That's Penny Lane, Beatles. Or a harpsichord. Or even a string quartet. Curious. Then I like the international and interracial way it ranges over the world, borrowing from the ragas of Hindu music, or borrowing from the sensuality of Arab cafe music. Rolling Stone. Then I like some of the new sounds, purely as sound, that are coming out of pop music. The arresting impact of a consort of amplified guitars. 1, 2, 3, 4! What a sound. And then I like the astonishing force of those hiked-up bass lines. And the outrageously cool utterances of that inhuman electric organ. Now, don't get me wrong. I said I liked some of those sounds. There's a good deal I don't like and wouldn't dream of defending. I don't like volume for its own sake, or the way the words are often drowned out by drums and amplifiers. I don't like the amateur quality of some of the writing and the out-of-tune singing. This music can be coarse, faddish, a victim of its own sameness, and yet when it's good, it's irresistible. After all, there are pros and cons to everything, especially in a popular art. And the cons are well enough publicized. We're here to examine the pros. And we're in luck because I've managed to find one song that incorporates so many of these pros that we can enjoy them all at once. It's a marvelous song called Society's Child, written, astonishingly enough, by a 15-year-old girl named Janice Ian. This tune is very well known among the followers of pop music, but you may not have heard it since it's been withheld by most of the radio stations for reasons unknown to me, although probably having to do with its subject matter, which is, as you'll see, somewhat controversial. But apart from the words, Society's Child contains many of the musical joys we've talked about, and some we haven't, like fascinating sounds, both natural and electronic, like a strange use of harpsichord and that cool, nasty electric organ. There are astonishing key changes and even tempo changes, ambiguous cadences, unequal phrase lengths, the works. And we're even luckier to have Janice Ian herself here to sing it for us. Listen hard to Society's Child.
gonna stop my listening, gonna raise my head up high. One of these days I'm gonna raise my glistening wings and fly. But that day will have to wait for a while. Baby, I'm only society's child. When we're older, things may change, but for now, this is the way they must remain. I say I can't see you anymore, baby. Can't see you anymore. No, I don't want to see you anymore, baby.
It kills me, that sassy retort of the organ at the end, that voice, those words, and that key change. But for now, this is the way they must remain. They say I can't see you anymore, baby. Oh, Janice, how did you ever write such a thing at the age of 15? You're a great creature.
Thank you.
I think that's quite a remarkable job for a girl of your age, and I congratulate you on what I'm sure is going to be a brilliant career.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to see us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So it would seem that the kids of our pop generation have a lot to say. Actually, what Janice has written is a short social document, not a satire, not a protest, just a picture of a social trap. Of course, underneath it is the spirit of protest, which underlies so many of these pop songs. The implication is, and strongly, that this is not at all the way things ought to be. Just as the Beatles song Paperback Writer implies in its satirical way all the corruption of our lives. Their anti-hero, the paperback writer, has written a book he's trying to sell, and he sings, it's 1,000 words, give or take a few. I'll be writing more in a week or two. I can make it longer if you like the style. I can change it round, but I want to be a paperback writer. In other words, prostitution. I'll do anything to sell that book. Well, the implication is clear. In fact, the message in the lyrics of most of these songs is delivered by implication. This is one of our teenagers' strongest weapons. It amounts almost to a private language. But this use of implication produces another effect as well, something bordering on poetry. Many of the lyrics, in their oblique allusions and way-out metaphors, are beginning to sound like real poems. And protected by this armor of poetry, our young lyricists can say just about anything they care to. And they do care. They care about civil rights, about sexual freedom, about peace. They talk about alienation, mysticism, drugs. The lyrics of Bob Dylan alone would make a bombshell of a book of social criticism. You know those ominous lines of his? Something is happening and you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? And you know who Mr. Jones is, don't you? Us. And the lyric of Along Comes Mary, I have been informed by its author, 22-year-old Tandon Ulmer, is not about a girl named Mary at all, but about Mary Jane, which is a literal translation of marijuana, and a staggering piece of verse it is. And Paul Simon of Garfunkel fame says, among other things, I touch no one and no one touches me. I am a rock, I am an island. Formidable stuff, isn't it? But mostly they talk about love, as all songwriters have since time began. Only this time, it's either a cool kind of love, or a frankly sexual love, or, and this is most important, universal love, a mystic oriental concept that is presumably attainable through meditation or withdrawal from the establishment, or most readily through drugs. Now, what does all this mean? I think it's all part of a historic revolution, one that has been going on for 50 years. Only now these young people have gotten control of a mass medium, the phonograph record. And the music on the records, with its noise and its cool messages, may make us uneasy, but we must take it seriously as both a symptom and a generator of this revolution. We must listen to it and to its makers, this new breed of young people with long hair and fanciful clothing. And the rest of this program will be devoted to just that, getting to know them, seeing them in action, hearing their thoughts. And perhaps by learning about them, we can learn something about our own future.
Inside Pop, the rock revolution will continue after this message. Inside Pop, the rock revolution continues.
Waters fly like bullets stream, drums and cannon laugh aloud. Whistles come from ashen shrouds, leaders down the world and roar, but no man can find the war.
Most of us have been raised in the tradition of Tin Pan Alley, where the songs, beautiful or not, were meant to amuse or beguile, but that's all. They were embellishments on life. What these young people seem to say is that their music isn't just decorative. It comes right out of their world. And whatever is working on today's youth is working out in their music. And the crucible is Los Angeles.
I think that the west coast of the United States is going to breed an explosion of poetry and music that is going to lead the way for the American youth.
Lead American youth where? Let's ask the musicians on the LA scene.
Like in my band, Can't He, what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell our story, and in telling our story, having people understand where we're at and what we're trying to do.
We're unusual in the sense that we come out and say God. Like, we know a lot of groups that are working basically towards the same thing, but they use a different language.
We want love by the content of, almost all songs being about love.
That's what all my songs are for now, just for the praising of love. Love is so beautiful, and I would like everybody to believe in it as much as I do.
The songs have always been about love.
But it hasn't had the importance as it has now. Because now hate cannot destroy just the people who are hating, but everybody, the whole world.
Is it the same love as the love the old songs were about?
I don't think
Or are you talking about some kind of different love?
I think a lot of it used to be a, whoa, whoa, I lost my baby, or
Down
I
by the riverside.
Very sentimental love. And now it's, let's love each other.
Universal love, where you love everyone, including the people who you, on a personal level, may dislike, but you love them anyway.
And do you think that your music, all of you in two groups, that you, by working as musicians, are working toward this goal of universal love for everybody?
That's our intention.
That's our hopes.
Now, we've been talking now for, I don't know, half hour or so, and I still don't understand the difference between the generations. I don't know what you really want to accomplish. You talk about love, and it comes through your music, but I don't know how it gets there through your music. I don't know what it's doing. And you talk about standing there and giving love from the stage, but everybody does that.
But dig it, if like we could tell you verbally, there'd be no need for the music, would there?
Well, I want to see you struggling to tell me, even though you can't get it into words.
You're confronted with an issue which displeases you, whatever it may be, and you want to respond to it. And you can go around, you can yell and scream and make noise. Or you can write a song and tell people how you feel, and maybe hope that if they feel the same way you do, they'll do something about it. And it's your contribution.
Well, is anyone listening to your songs and getting what you're trying to tell them from them?
Maybe not the first time round. Maybe it takes a while.
If they hear it 12 times on the radio, they'll start humming it and singing it, and at some point they're going to listen to the words they're singing.
I still don't get it from what you're telling me.
You've got to tell me better.
What do you want to get?
I want to get what the difference of these generations is. I want to know...
Well, I told you the basic difference is that now the world can be destroyed, and it's the first time in history that the world can be destroyed. And like, that's the thing.
Can you do it just with music?
We were trying very
no,
hard.
You can't do it just with music, but then you find other means to supplement music.
Is anyone
Take the press in
here
Los Angeles
in this whole
crisis.
room trying to do something besides what they're doing with their music? Or is the music enough?
No, I think they're going beyond that. The whole Sunset Strip freedom movement.
Next to universal love, freedom is their main concern.
It's freedom. That's what we want. That's what we haven't been able to get. And people all through the ages haven't been able to get freedom.
But their definition of freedom is a special one. Paul Robbins, writer and a close observer of the scene.
And they expect their society, the free one, the free society, to back them up and say, groovy, swing. As long as you hurt no one, swing.
Do anything you want, just don't hurt anyone. And they mean it.
People should be able to wear their hair the way they want.
People should be able to do anything they want.
Put into their bodies what they want and sell them if they want to.
What are you talking about? I can't go in there and sit down because I have different colored skin. I have long hair. I have funny clothes on. What does that got to do with it? Does that make you so uptight that you have to wrap my head on it?
We don't judge them by that, because they don't matter. That's not what matters. What matters is the person inside, the feelings of the person inside, not what they look like, but what they do, more what they do, what they're doing with themselves, what they're doing with their time.
I think we're out to break down those barriers that we see to be arbitrary, the big fences that have been built, you know, the walls that will crumble if you hit them hard enough. And we're out there hitting them, you know. We're cutting them subtly. We're cutting them with laser beams and not, you know, dynamite. We're doing other things. We're cutting them with emotions, which are stronger than fists, you know. And we're getting mass emotions involved, you know. It's, I'm very happy about it. I feel, yeah, like there's some sort of guerrilla warfare, psychological warfare going on, you know. And I feel like, you know, guerrilla. I feel good.
But out here on LA's Sunset Strip, it's not guerrilla warfare, and it's not psychological either. It's the real thing.
And here he is walking on the street communicating with his peers, and the cop says, you can't do it. Get off the street!
Every weekend, hundreds of kids, lots of them long hairs, pour onto one plush mile of Sunset Boulevard called the Strip, to make the scene, to dance, and to hear the rock music. Suddenly, the authorities tried to clear them out. The kids reacted by demonstrating, and the fight was on. This crisis brought the fans together. Emotion made it easy for them to talk. And we tried to find out if there was a leading connection between what the musicians were telling us and what their audience here on the Strip would say.
Why is it they can put down on our music? I mean, they say it's bad. I mean, they say it's a bunch of noise. They turn down the noise. But is it really noise? Do they ever listen to the words?
You know, like they said, they don't listen to the words. And what are the words? The words they're talking about love, they're talking about freedom, they're talking about peace.
The kids like music, you know. They gotta have some place to go. They don't have a lot of dough, so they come to places like Pandora's Box. But if they close them all down, what can you do except stand out on the street?
You are standing there, you're loitering because you don't have any money. Because you don't have a job, because you don't have a direction, you're not doing anything. You're not a part of the super society which is called America.
Just because we're not going along with society like everybody else goes, they want everybody to do the same thing and live their own life. All they want to do is they want you to grow up, get an education, raise children, and die.
Well, I think they got as much right here as anybody. Because they dress different, got long hair, people think they're second-rate citizens, which is not true. And when you start telling them they can't do something, that's when they're going to try to prove they can. Just like you tell some colored guy he's not going to move in your neighborhood, he's going to prove to you can move in here because it's a free country.
See, we've given these kids a dream, which somebody gave to us, and it's called the American dream. And we want nothing to do with it, except to talk about it. We don't want it.
I think that there's a revolution brewing, and it's going to be a sloppy one unless something is done to get it organized in a hurry.
This isn't social protest. What you are looking at now is just plain show business. And to understand this rock revolution in the round, better realize that mostly kids aren't swept up by anything more than the throb of a new beat they like or the look of a new personality they love. And Herman's Hermits are a perfect example of what's happening at this uncomplicated level. Herman is rich, charming, very English, and very old. 19.
Information, please. Try to put me through the hood in Memphis, Tennessee. That's all.
On the surface, this may resemble an old show business tour. But something else is going on now. For the first time, kids are the heroes of kids. More importantly, young people have so much money these days that youth by itself has become a whole market. Influence over this powerful new youth is what gives pop musicians the sense that their ideas are important. But they're still kids.
Quick, you ready for it? You ready? Put these on. Hey!
Another top English group, the Hollies, traveling with the Hermits and opening the show. And if you've ever thought that the words of rock songs were hard to get, listen to these. It may be getting easier.
Bus stop with their she's there, I say, we share my umbrella. Bus stop, bus goes, she stays, love grows under my umbrella. All that summer we enjoyed it, wind and rain and shine. That umbrella we employed it, by August she was mine. Every morning now we'll see her waiting at the stop. Sometimes she'd try and she would show me what she bought. All the people stared as if we were both quite insane. Someday my neighbors are going to be the same. That's the way the whole thing started. Silly, but it's true. Thinking of a sweet romance beginning in the queue. Came the Sunday, ice was melting, no more sheltering now. Nice to think that that umbrella led me to a vow.
After the concert, the inevitable bull session. And even the show busiest of today's young musicians knows something is going on besides just entertainment.
I think that pop musicians in today's generation are in a fantastic position. They could rule the world, man.
And how does music fit into this?
Music is the whole thing, man. It's an expression of the younger generation. Paul Simon, John Sebastian, and John Phillips, and people like this, and Donovan, especially Donovan, have got this great universal love, man. Today, because the kids are so tolerant and they really want to understand what people are trying to say, then they'll go with Donovan 99% of the way, because what he's trying to put over is best for everybody. It'll stop. What Donovan's trying to put over will stop wars dead.
I believe that you're right about Donovan saying that love is a great thing.
Now, we have the power, we have the tolerance. We can go in front of a television camera, we can go on the air, and we can say with definition that Hitler was wrong, that Rockwell is wrong, that people who hate Negroes are wrong, right? And we can get up there and shout it to the world, Pete.
Well, I don't argue.
We can shout it to the world, right? So why don't we do more of it? That's what I'm saying. We can stop world wars before they ever started.
I disagree. I don't believe that
you know who start world wars?
I, for one...
Do you know who start world wars? People that are over 40.
People. That's it. People
no,
start
people
world
that
wars.
are too old to realise that love rules the world.
This song won't stop wars, but it won't start any either. And much of the new music is like this, as conventional as it is pleasing. Herman sings his first big hit, Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter.
There's a sharpest hair or something red. But it's sad, she doesn't love me now. goodbye. She wants to return those things I brought her. Tell her she can stick them down the drain. Don't let on. I don't say she broke my doggone heart. I'd go down on my knees, but it's no to cry. No. Oh, in a crowd, even in a crowd, no, you pick her out. She makes a blow, Kieran, ever so good. Let's have everyone clap. Clapping! Above your heads so I can see them. Hey, yous over there!
These sweet young girls are ringers for their own mothers with Sinatra. But their world is a very different one. And in a moment, we'll go on to consider some of the differences in music and in words.
Inside Pop, the rock revolution, will continue after this message. Inside Pop, the rock revolution with David Oppenheim continues.
Where do the good times go?
A recent hit by Herman and his Hermits, East West, about the dubious joys of tours like this one.
Ocean, perpetual motion, traveling around, no rest, singing and playing, night out and day in, doing the rounds. What a great life it must seem. What a great life it must seem. Swell joints, everything classy, nothing that's posse, only the best. Lush girls, ogling and eyeing, eyeing and crying. This is success. What a great life it must seem. What a great life it must seem. But when I hear young voices singing out, the bells at home start ringing out, and I feel all alone, and I long for my home. Mom, Dad, all round the fire, in festive attire, keeping the day. Aunts, kids, all the relations, congratulations, this is success. What a great life it must seem. What a great life it must seem. But when I hear young voices singing out, the bells at home start ringing out, I feel all alone, and I long for my home. Yeah, I feel all alone.
I mean, my parents probably would think the idea of going to the moon was absolutely preposterous. But to us, it's like, it's going to happen tomorrow. We might be going to... It's commonplace. Therefore, your own mind is broadened.
Yeah, but why, Graham? Why is your mind much broader than your father's? I'm not saying...
Because the things around me, because things that were impossible to my father are going to happen today and tomorrow.
They feel their generation is really different from ours, and that difference can be attributed to certain objective facts of life on Earth today. Facts like
electronic revolution. Everybody's becoming more well-informed.
More aware, better educated. A lot of it is that the kids today aren't just going to accept what's laid down for them by the older generation.
We've seen more at our age.
Communication is the thing.
The death of Jack Kennedy, it led America and youth away from the establishment.
25 or under is 52%. That's a lot of people.
And are aware that they have power.
Things like overkill.
They grew up with a fear of the bomb.
These facts and attitudes might produce in another time a political creature, but the thrust of their thinking is inward.
A person has only one right, and that's to look within himself for the truth, because that's where it is.
What ways do they have to help look inside?
The first and best one is meditation.
But they think there is another method.
The drug revolution is just coming about, and there are going to be a lot of heads rolling from it.
You know, there's a lot of dope going on. That's a bad word to use, but it's true.
And I think that these drugs will enhance their consciousness and make them perhaps more loving or more understanding of the universe, or more understanding of life.
Innerness, mysticism, and love are their alternatives to political action.
Of course, no political answer could work. Communism had its chance and is turning into the same set of beans that capitalism is. It's not political, it's personal. It's inward, it's inner illumination, it's inner peace and inner harmony. That's why the interest in the East.
But they feel change is in the air anyway.
Revolution can just mean evolvement. There doesn't have to be any trauma or any fighting or any anger or any aggression. It will just all happen if everyone would just sit back and take it easy.
Their idea is to love us into submission.
Well, I guess if I just had one thing to say, I'd say what's most important, and I guess it's just I love you.
Do you think this feeling is spreading in this country?
Yes. Ferociously.
As they see it, our society, while apparently healthy and certainly bountiful, is in a deep crisis of values. They are hoping for a return to the human-centered community they feel modern life has moved away from. And they think that they, together with other young people like them, are forming a model upon which that society can be constructed.
Hung velvet overtaken me, dim chandelier awaken me to a song dissolving the time. The music holocaustly bow, the music all is lost for now, till muted trumpeters colonnaded ruins die.
Here is a new song, too complex to get all of first time around. It could come only out of the ferment that characterizes today's pop music scene. Brian Wilson, leader of the famous Beach Boys and one of today's most important pop musicians, sings his own Surf's Up.
Dove-nested towers, the hour was struck, the straight quicksilver moon. Carriage across the fog, two-step to lamplight cellar tune. The laughs come hard in auld lang syne. The glass was raised, a fire rose, the fullness of the wine, the dim last toast. While at port adieu or die, a choke of grief, heart hardened I'm, the unbelief, a broken man too tough to cry. Surf's up, board a tidal wave, come
poetic, beautiful even in its obscurity, Surf's Up is one aspect of new things happening in pop music today. As such, it is a symbol of the change many of these young musicians see in our future.
It's got to be that way. They'll win. They'll win because we're wrong. And we're so wrong that we can't even kid ourselves anymore. And after going through some decades of not even being able to kid ourselves, at last we cannot kid our kids. And there are the seeds of the new culture, fomented by rock and roll and its passion. It's simple passion. That's all. No meaning, just feel.
And if they'd stop taking drugs and stop kidding themselves with their fantasies, and if they'd straighten up a little bit, grab themselves a little sense of responsibility, I think everything will turn out all right. That is, if they aren't killed off systematically beforehand.
Is the war inside your mind? Humans weep at human death. All the talkers lose their breath. Movies paint a chaos tale. Singers see and poets wail. All the world knows the score, but no man can find the war. No man can find the war.
And that's the pop music scene today. Serious and silly, sweet and grandiose, but all coming out of the kids themselves. They are trying hard, but whatever young people do, they tend to overdo. The jury is still out on their social ideas, but the verdict on their music is in. A great deal of it is good.
Inside Pop, the rock revolution, has been brought to you by
General Telephone and Electronics, GT&E, and its family of companies.
Mothers and fathers throughout the land, don't criticize if you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command, and your own road is rapidly aging. Knock it out of you, and if you can't land ahead, by the time they are attained.
Inside Pop, the rock revolution, was produced and edited under the supervision and control of CBS News.